Let's first understand what is virtualization. To put it in simple words, virtualization allows us to create a virtual version of a guest OS on top of a host. Examples of host include laptop, PC, or server. What is a hypervisor? Hypervisor is a software layer between our host and virtual machines. It is installed on top of host machine. Hypervisor makes virtualization possible. So, what is virtual machines? Virtual machines are machines that run on hypervisor and is running a guest OS. Of course, there is an underlying hardware that is being utilized by the VMs from the host. Hardware resources are separately allocated for the VMs on host. Here, let's understand the diagrams. First, to my left, we have a diagram that shows our traditional architecture, and to the right, it shows the virtualization. Okay, in traditional architecture, we have this hardware, CPU, memory, NIC, and disk. On top of the hardware, we run an operating system, whether it be Windows or Linux. Then on top of the OS, we have an application. So here we have on one OS and one application running on that hardware, where now we have virtualization. In virtualization, we have CPU, the same hardware, CPU, memory, NIC, and the disk. However, now we have the hypervisor layer. On top of hypervisor, we create more OS. We have multiple OS that is sharing the hardware from the main host. Now we have two VM running and using on the same hardware but separately allocated. We have VM1 and VM2, and they're both running separate application. On my right side, the diagram shows types of hypervisors. So we have two types of hypervisors. One is hosted architecture and another is bare metal hypervisor architecture. In hosted hypervisor, we have a host machine that has its own application running. On top of a host operating system, we have virtual layer, our hypervisor layer. On hypervisor, we can install, provision multiple servers on it. Then we have the bare metal architecture, where we do not have host operating system. We have VMware virtualization layer, right? So the hypervisor. On top of hypervisor, we have different operating systems, different VMs that has its own application running, and that is utilizing. Example of hosted architecture would be VMware Workstation, Oracle VM VirtualBox, what we will be showing today. An example of bare metal architecture would be VMware vSphere with ESX and ESXi, Microsoft Hyper-V, Oracle VM. What are the benefits of virtualization? Reduce the complexity. Now it is easy to manage in terms of networking, the storage, and hardware. Also, the cost dramatically decreases. Why? Because now we're optimizing the use of resources. Now we can use the money for something else. We also have better security. VMs and app are now isolated from each other. However, they're using the same underlying hardware. We are also saving energy from the hardware and electricity. Code green. Today we will install Oracle VirtualBox on our host, create a virtual machine on Oracle VM VirtualBox, install VMware Workstation, and create a virtual machine on VMware. Let's get to the console. Now I will show you how to install VirtualBox on your system. Go to internet, type VirtualBox, then go with the first link, Oracle VM VirtualBox. Here you will see a big box. Click on download, and if you're using Windows, click on Windows host, and you can run this file extension. I'm not going to run it because I already installed it. Run it and install the VirtualBox. Go with all the default setting. Now we're going to go back to the VirtualBox manager. Here, this is the VirtualBox manager. Together we will create a new virtual machine. Okay, I'm going to press new. I'm going to name my virtual machine. I'm going to name it CentOS 7. It will automatically choose the type, the Red Hat, the version, and CentOS is the free version of Red Hat. I'm going to click next. You can choose your memory size. I'm going to go with the default, and you can create a virtual hard disk over here. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Okay, I'm going to go with default, next, dynamically allocated, yes, next, and you can choose the virtual machine size over here. I'm going to go with 8 GB, and you can increase it as well. I'm going to create. Then I'm going to leave everything else in the default. I'm going to start the virtual machine. Now this screen came. Here we're going to choose our ISO image. So I'm going to browse and add. I'm going to add my ISO image over here. If you do not have an ISO image, you can go to the internet and type CentOS 7 ISO image. Then you can click CentOS ISO image, the mirror list, and you can choose any of this. I'm going to go with NYU, and you can download the ISO image. I would prefer that you download the DVD, that's the full version, and that's where you can download the ISO image. We're going to go back. So here we're going to choose the ISO image, and we're going to start the installation. Here we're given the choice to troubleshoot, test this media, and install. We don't want to test, I'm just going to install. So after a few moments we came to this screen. I'm going to choose the language, which is English, the country United States. Okay, next. Here you can customize your installation. So that's the installation summary. You can choose the date and time, the keyboard, the language, and we're going to change the software selection to desktop, which will have a lot of softwares that comes with it. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to select the installation destination. I want to install it on the 8 GB that I allocated. Select done. Okay, I can also configure the network and the host name. Then I will turn on the network, the Ethernet, and you can specify the host name. So I can say CentOS 7. Then we click done, and we can begin the installation. You'll come to this screen. While it is installing, you can choose root password. I'll choose welcome1. Press done. And if you want any other user beside the root user, you would create another user, and it is always good to create another user. You don't want to use the root user. So I'm going to give it a name, John. That's a username. Require password to use this account. Yes. So welcome1. Okay, I'm gonna make this user administrator and done. Okay, and we'll be back after the installation is finished. Okay, we're back. The installation is finished. Now we're gonna reboot. After the reboot, I'll come back again. So after the reboot, we get this screen where we have to accept the license. So I go with the license information. I agree the license agreement. Done. The network is already set, and we're gonna click finish configuration. Now we come to this screen where we have our user John. We can log into user John. So my password was welcome1 and sign in. Now we're here in the desktop and our installation is complete. This is our virtual machine right now. Okay, next, skip, start using CentOS Linux. Let's set this out, and this is our desktop. We can create anything we want. We can use the terminal, open terminal. Let's check if we're connected to the internet. I will ping google.com, and it's pinging. It's on the network. Now I will show you how to install VMware Workstation, and we'll create a virtual machine together. Let's go to the internet and Google type VMware Workstation. So VMware Workstation, and we're gonna go with download VMware Workstation Pro. After we go here, we're gonna download for Windows. If you have Linux, you could choose Linux. I'm gonna go with Windows. Okay, now you can run this file extension. I'm not gonna run it. I already have it in my system. And when you're installing, you can go with all the default setting. After you're done, I'll come back to you. I hope you're done with installation. You should see this screen saying VMware Workstation 15 player. Okay, now we're gonna learn how to create a virtual machine on VMware. First, go to create a virtual machine. Okay, I will install the operating system later. Okay, next, I will choose Linux, and you can choose here whatever version you're choosing, CentOS 6 or 7. I'm gonna go with 7. Next, I can name my virtual machine. I'm just gonna name it CentOS 7. Next, here I choose the disk size. You could go with the recommended size, which is 20 gigabyte. This is what I'm gonna go with, and you can leave this as it is. Click next and click finish. Now you can select the name. As you can see, I was working before, and I'm going to select CentOS 7, which is what I just created. I'll go to the setting. In the setting, I will load my ISO image. So I'm going to go with CD and DVD. I'm going to go with ISO image and browse the ISO image, and it should be under document and ISO image CentOS 7. Okay, I browsed it. Now make sure the setting is connect at power. Okay, that's good. And make sure the network adapter, you can select to bridge the network, connect directly to the physical network. I will do that. Okay, and I will press OK, and I will play virtual machine. Here we get the same screen. I'm going to choose install CentOS, press enter. Okay, after a few moments we come to this screen. We're going to click next. I'm going to choose English, continue.